Welcome to Rowdy Rants. I'm Rowdy. Thank you for sitting in on my Thanksgiving edition. We're going to be talking about a little bit of politics, maybe a little personal. I'm going to kind of ramble around. This is going to be one of the longer videos that I make. And I certainly appreciate feedback. And please subscribe. Of course, anybody that's watched my videos understands that I do a great deal of political discussion, and this is going to be no different at all. I'm a regular person just like you guys. I work a job, have a family that I take care of. Needless to say, it's probably pretty obvious that I'm quite conservative. So here we go. Now you need to remember that everything that's happened since Joe Biden was elected is a result of actions taken deliberately. They did these things on purpose. So the results are what they wanted to happen. And this is Joe Biden, his administration, and the Democrat-controlled Congress. Keep that in mind. Okay? Inflation's on everyone's mind. Everything costs more. And contributing to those costs has been Joe Biden, his administration, and the Democrat-controlled Congress. One of President Biden's first actions was to discontinue the Keystone XL pipeline, which resulted in literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people losing their jobs. And it certainly did impact thousands, even if it was only hundreds, because the money that these people made and the industry that contributed to this pipeline were all disenfranchised by that discontinuation. And they discontinued the pipeline in the name of preserving land and protecting it, which on the surface, that's a real strong feel-good thing. But when you look into it more deeply, you gain greater understanding of what happened. When they decided to bring in the Keystone XL pipeline, the purpose of it is to transport petroleum and petroleum products cheaply. Those products were already being transported by truck and by train. Also, industry will naturally locate closer to the source. Now, if you can move the source to another location, or at least distribute the source to another location cheaply, you will attract industry there. You folks don't think that when they discontinued that pipeline, that oil that they planned to transport, or oil that you maybe thought was already being transported, stopped. It never stopped. It's still being transported by truck and train, and it's still being transported more expensively. It costs more to transport it that way, and the environmental impact is greater. When you have literally hundreds or thousands of shipments of petroleum daily versus this petroleum being pushed through a pipeline, you have literally hundreds and thousands of more opportunities to have a spill. Also, the byproducts of truck and train mean that there's more tires in the landfill. It means that there's more smog being dumped into the atmosphere. So they chose a less environmentally friendly option for transporting that petroleum deliberately. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Don't forget that Other products of petroleum include propane, diesel, heating oil, which is needed up north this time of year, and it's all more expensive now, considerably more expensive. And inflation doesn't recognize political affiliation. So I hope everybody that voted for Joe Biden is enjoying your price increases, because you paid for them and you're going to continue to pay for them. One of the things that happened besides Keystone XL pipeline is President Biden discontinued the lease for oil drilling on federal lands in a huge number of areas, in the name of, once again, preserving the land. Something you should understand is federal land isn't something that belongs to one person. Federal land is controlled by the federal government or its appointees, and it is owned in the name of the people for the good of the people. And if it's extracting petroleum safely and cleanly benefits the people, I'm at a loss to understand why they would discontinue it, unless the reasoning behind it isn't obvious to somebody who is thinking about the people first. Keep that in mind. Border wall construction ceased almost immediately when President Biden hit office. Not only did that happen, the Border Patrol was immediately handicapped in their handling of border jumpers. Now, I'm going to get criticized, I'm sure, for saying border jumpers, but let me explain something. I don't like the terminology that I see a lot of. I like to use terminology that is readily apparent what I mean. And I mean border jumpers. People that are jumping across the border illegally. I don't like to say illegal aliens or undocumented immigrants or undocumented that. None of it to me sounds as descriptive as it should be. Border jumper sounds descriptive because that's exactly what they do. President Biden deliberately handicapped, and his administration deliberately handicapped the Border Patrol. They have normalized human trafficking and drugs coming across the border. And you notice I didn't say legalized, because it isn't legal. It's being ignored. And it's also being ignored by a majority of the media. Prove them wrong. Comment below. Housing costs, where the immigrants eventually wind up, housing costs have increased. Housing costs don't go down when more people come into an area. They go up because housing becomes more valuable, because there are more people jockeying for the same place to live, so the prices stay high. Job opportunities, on the other hand, decrease because you have more people vying for the same jobs. And since you have more people jockeying for the same jobs, wages go down. And it seems like the point is always lost that high school and college graduates enter the job market sometimes for the first time, and they're jockeying for these entry-level jobs. Entry-level jobs, which in many cases are now being taken by border jumpers. Now look, if you're a border jumper, I don't have anything personal involved in this as far as any kind of an ingrained hatred or whatever you want to call it. I'm calling you a border jumper because that's what you did, is you jumped across the border. Thousands of people have come across that border legally. You did not. You are a border jumper. If you don't like it, fix it. You were a border jumper when you did it, and you always will be. Amnesty doesn't mean you didn't commit the crime. Folks, what, you don't like what I'm saying? Comment below. I'll answer. You want to debate it? Make sure you know what you're talking about, because I hate to make you look like a fool. I keep looking at my notes, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm looking at. That way I can keep up. Note that the Biden administration doesn't actually discuss issues or notify localities that they're going to be secretly flying border jumpers or busing them into areas. They find out when the immigrants arrive, usually. And you don't see sanctuary cities out here waving flags right now saying, we'll take them, we'll take them. That's not happening, is it? You don't see them advertising on TV, hey, bring them on, bring them all. Where'd that go? You don't see the politicians out there regularly as part of their election campaigns send them all. No, they're not. Why? Because they know that the people that are voting don't want this. Do you think that people who cross the border without authorization, people who are border jumpers, come to an area without baggage? And I'm not talking about clothing. I'm talking about owing cartels money. I'm talking about the fact that they were possibly a drug mule, bringing drugs into the United States, and that's how they paid their way. And also how they got their stake money to be here. Think about it. Now, I'm sure there's a percentage of these people who are great people. It doesn't change the fact that they committed a crime getting here. And like I said, amnesty doesn't change the fact that you broke the law. How do you think that people feel waking up on Sunday morning finding that Saturday 600, 700, 1,000, 2,000 people were dumped in their county by the federal government? Does anybody see national news going to these places where these border jumpers are landing and interviewing the border jumpers, the local authorities, or the residents? No. You don't, do you? Have you even thought of that? Like I said, everything that they're doing is deliberate. And if you look at the results of what they're doing, the negative almost always outweighs the positive, if there's even a positive involved. Afghanistan. The withdrawal from Afghanistan was pure incompetence. There's no other way to put it. And I will never ever believe anything that anyone has to say about it otherwise. Service members lost their lives because of a lack of structure in that withdrawal. We made the wrong decision every step of the way, and the Biden administration was behind it. Except that they successfully imported thousands, tens of thousands of Afghan refugees. Every now and then you might see in local news of an area where they've discovered some guy my age is married to a 12-year-old girl. so that her family could actually be brought to the United States through chain migration. That's perverted, but the news won't even touch it. We have crimes where female service members have been assaulted. Media doesn't touch it. Or they find a way to excuse it, or rename it, or deny it altogether. Trust me, they don't care. Tens of thousands. How many of those do you think were properly vetted before they got to the United States? Seeing how they arrived here with a child bride. We evacuated perverts. And the Democrat Party is responsible for that one. Moving on. Inflation. Triggered due to runaway spending by the Biden administration and Democrat Congress has literally crippled the economy and family financial security. What is it? Thanksgiving turkeys, depending on where you were at, were up anywhere from 25 to 50%, along with everything else involved in the Thanksgiving meal. Black Friday sales, you were lucky to find prices cut by 20% instead of 50%. And quantities available were reduced regardless of what they tell you. All you had to do was be there and look around. The cost of living is going to cost Americans more for many, many years. The cost of gasoline to get to and from work, the cost of food to feed the family, the cost of housing, the cost of living in that house, electricity, heating oil, water, city services such as sewage. All these have gone up. A lot of people will say, well, because of COVID, the wages have gone up. Yeah, and the wages got erased by the inflation. So in most cases, you're not breaking even. You're actually going backwards a little bit. Honestly, I don't see how single paycheck households are surviving. I really don't. Not among just regular people. Middle class, lower middle class. I don't see how they're surviving. I don't see how they do it. I'm the only one that works in my family, but I'm also retired Navy. Plus I have another retirement. And yet I still work 40 hours a week. I don't have a choice. If we want to live a decent life and have some kind of meat on the table besides bologna, I have to work. I can imagine what it's like for people who don't have the backup that I have. If I'm working a job and it gets too crazy or I can't handle it, or for whatever reason, I can quit. And we still eat. But if we want to do more than that, I have to work. So I can't imagine people having a single paycheck and that's all they have to survive on. That to me is terrifying. And for those of you that do that, God bless you. Whew, I can't imagine. The Biden administration and an executive order resulting in an OSHA, a proposed OSHA vaccine mandate. I've got to be careful how I say this because I don't want to come across as anti-vax. I'm not pro-vax, I'm not anti-vax. I'm ambivalent. Make your own choices. Consult with your doctor on the vaccine. Do what you need to do. What I'm talking about, though, is the impact on work, people working. It has the potential to throw a lot of people out of work. A whole lot of people. I understand that you want to try and get people vaccinated, But mandating somebody take something into their body that they don't want, regardless of what reasoning, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to fight that. That's the nature of being human. My opinion. I'm going to get off that subject before I get myself in trouble. Critical race theory. From the Biden administration through Attorney General Merrick Garland has turned into a shit show, with parents being escorted from meetings, and in some cases being arrested and removed or even investigated. Merrick Garland has gotten the FBI involved in the issue, considering it to be a potential issue of domestic terrorism. If you're one of these parents and you are involved in protesting, teaching critical race theory to your kids, or the results of critical race theory's impact on your kids, do it smartly. Don't make threats. Don't make threats about physical harm. Do it smartly, because that's where the win's at. This redneck hold my beer shit, the only thing that does is cause yourself trouble. Get an attorney, get backup from friends and family, protest, contact the news, make it public, not a public spectacle, not yourself. Let them be the public spectacle. Put them on the defense. You go in there and start making threats about their safety, you're making yourself a spectacle, and you're also making yourself a suspect. I understand it would enrage me. I am so glad that all my kids are out of school. I would be so enraged. I can understand, and I sympathize with you. So help me, I do. But that's not going to work. The only thing you're going to do is put yourself on the radar. Think it through. Make it a spectacle. Contact the news. And I don't mean just one. I'm talking everything within 50 miles. Every newspaper, every radio station, every TV station within 50 miles. And then do it again. Every time there's a meeting, every time there's an issue, contact that same group again. Get names and talk to them. Take out classified ads and post what you've observed cleanly and clearly. Yes, be proactive. Do something about it. Do it smart. That's it. I'm going to call that my Thanksgiving Roundup. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. And I hope I've shared some information that'll generate some thought. I sure do appreciate you coming. I hope that you share and subscribe below. My name's Rowdy. All of you have a great day and a great Thanksgiving. Yeah.